Welcome back to AI Real Talk, the Curiosity Connection. And today I'm really excited because I may have found a guest that values curiosity just as much as I do. It's all over her LinkedIn profile. It's all over the company that she has started and created. And so, of course, when presented with the opportunity to speak with her, it was an immediate yes, because as we can see from my shirt, my favorite quote from my favorite show, Ted Lasso, is be curious, not judgmental. And that's what this show is all about. So I am so curious about the level of her curiosity. So I would like to introduce Amirah Cummings. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. And like you said, curiosity, I didn't realize it was all over everything, but yeah, it's the number one commodity, the future commodity for me. So I'm super engaged in it.
KIO, Kids in Orbit. And I have to admit, I went on and I played around with all the stuff that I could, and it's fascinating. I went on to I forget because I found this out too. You have like a whole ecosystem of things. There's an AI and AR experience. There's a storytelling experience, and I was hearing a story about Anna, one of the kid,
Cadets.
or what
Yeah,
are they called?
yeah, she's a
Knots,
Kionat.
Kionauts. Yep, the Kionauts cadets. Okay, and that whole idea, how you put that together, and to me, I just left teaching at the end of November. That engagement piece of telling that story in such a visual way. You have the audio book, you can listen to that. You have the images that pop up there and the sound effect. It was like incredibly well done. And my students, this would be so engaging and immersive for them. And I'm imagining that was the whole purpose. So why don't you tell us how this idea came about and like where did it come from? This whole KIO and
Yeah, glad that you picked up that it's an ecosystem because I'm like building, my vision is like this big and I'm building piece by piece. And so the fact that you can see it all goes together, I'm like, yeah, I did something right. It doesn't seem like these fragile, loose pieces. But yeah, so Keo, it came about, my graduate work was all about how do I build this? I really wanted to build this like multilingual school that like taught kids conceptual learning. So let's get the concept of math. Let's get the concept of speaking to each other in different languages and traveling the world, and then use that to kind of create these like mutants that can like travel the world and really understand anything from the framework of let me just understand, let me look and observe what this is, and then I can pull out and understand. So it's teaching more how to learn than like what to learn. And so I went to graduate school and really honed in on that. And when I came out, I opened my first school, my pilot, and it was KIO. And at that time, it stood for Knowledge, Innovation, and Opportunity. And I had this like
I like that.
my pilot was this multilingual Montessori environment where I had kids very young, where they would go through this entire school day and figure out what they wanted to learn. And then I or my teacher would come in and speak to them in these different languages. So, like, one kid would be at the truck station, it's like, Aoi Taraku, like speaking Japanese to them. And another kid's like, doing the button station because they were super young, two to four at first. And it's like, oh, this is okay. And it's like, ah. So I realized that would bring them to life. And I did my second program. So the first one was in New Jersey, and so was the second. And then I went to older kids out in Los Angeles, and that took me all the way through 8 years old. And what I realized getting into KIO, or how KIO became Kids in Orbit, when I was at that program in Los Angeles, I kept calling them kids in orbit. I kept saying, you guys are like orbiting around the world. Like you're orbiting around, like we're going out of space. We're
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
going wild with this. What are your wildest dreams? Let us really think big and like just that's the concepts of what I wanted them to get. And I was doing it in Japanese because that was the language for that program. And so I asked
Yeah.
I asked the main person in the school because it was inside of a school, and I said, he's like, what are you gonna name this program? I'm like, everything's been the coming school, right? I was like, but I like Keo. He's like, I love like it was just it was like an aha moment for there were three of us in the room. And so
Yeah.
I really just kept that on. And as time went on, I said, I really want this thing to go global. But language isn't compelling enough. What am I really trying to do? Like, why do I
Yeah.
care so much about language? I have to go deeper with my why in order to go deeper with other people's why. And I said, because we're really we're becoming an interplanetary species, and most of us have no idea about humanity. We have no idea about the world. And
Facts.
so
Facts.
for me, KIO became this story driven. Who do we get to become? I would move to online learning in the pandemic, and I said, I would be on with the kids, and they'd be from different countries. Some down here in Mexico, some I've had Australia, I've had London, I've had the United States on different coasts. And so you've got these kids from all around the world. And it's like we're learning this program. How about you be the scientist? How about you be the like I came into this mission driven learning where it's like, here's the mission for today. Who wants to be the this? And you don't get to be the scientist every single time. You get to be whatever you want each time. If you want to be it every
Right.
time, you can. And so that's really where Kionauts came out of. It was like it was really just these like steps of me continuously asking like why? How do we engage more? What am I seeing? Everything to me was a pilot. And so one day I just sat down and said, you know what? We're at a place where I've piloted so much and I figured out what I want this system to look like. I've been around the world. I've spoken about KIO. I've spoken about the Cummings School. I've spoken about my vision for an education, a world where kids can drive their own education. What do I need to do next? And I'm a big meditator, and it's just write this story, write what you want this education system to look like, and tell kids what they can become. So that's the concept that they get to engage with. And then from there, we have AI that can pretty much make things infinite. It doesn't replace teachers, but it can make learning infinite. And so for me, Kionat is the vision that I have. Kionat is like Anna's book one. She's the kid from the United States. I want to do books about kids from around the world and how they come to see and find this Kio Academy so that they can say, I want to be a Kionat, and a Kionat is a curious, compassionate explorer of Earth and the cosmos. And so hopefully that wasn't a long
That's
roundabout
it.
way, but they were just tiny nuggets that brought me to Kionot, and now we're building this entire ecosystem.
Well, no, but I just think the underlying purpose, the underlying point is phenomenal. This idea of bringing kids and students together from all over the world to give them more of a perspective of the world
Mhm.
that we live in. So I think this message that you have of spreading this worldwide connection, this and through your interplanetary
Right.
connections, I think that's a great way to do it. And so I'm really excited to see what the rest of those stories. I only got to read the
Okay.
prologue
That's
of Anna's
2042. That's
story.
where we're
So that's like
going. That's where we're going.
because I'm like, where does this go? I want to see where this goes. But you brought it up, so now we're gonna transition into this because one of the main parts and portions of this show is discussing AI and AI as it relates to education.
Mhm.
So I love how you put that. It makes learning infinite. I actually don't think I've heard anyone put it like that. So that is definitely a clippable moment right there.
Nice.
But it makes learning infinite. With that being said, was this process, did you get to where you are? Did AI help you get there?
Everything we're building now was the vision I had, and it's evolved. It's evolved many times. Each time I piloted it, it's evolved. Throughout my grad school career, I thought it was going to be one school that was kind of like the boarding school I went to in Pennsylvania. I thought it was going to be like that.
Oh,
And then my mind expanded to I want to do this all around the world. I don't want to just limit it to the kids that'll go and be in this physical space, but I do believe in physical spaces for kids.
yeah,
AI has changed the game for me because before, of course, I still have to pilot. You still have to do your market research, although you can prompt, give me market research. But there's nothing like the human experience. And I think that's where the commodity truly is that AI has just given me the opportunity to accelerate building out my human experiences. I don't have to stop the way that I used to and become the jack of all trades, or if I bring someone aboard, acclimate, and then the vision changes or pivots or gets bigger, and the person is not necessarily able to grow with that, or it's just not synergy. And so I can workshop a lot of things out with AI. I'm also an engineer myself. I was a software engineer before I went back to grad school for education. And so I know
again.
my co-founder is a nerd too. I'm like, we're all nerds. Like we, of course,
Or
we put augmented reality.
everybody's nerds. E- Everybody's nerds
Yeah,
at their own
yeah, and
thing. That's how everybody's
yeah,
nerds
I've
at their
got
thing.
10 things that I'm a nerd at.
I
But
love it.
but yeah,
I love
so
it.
just to answer
I
your
love it.
question, for me, AI has accelerated what my ability to prototype, my ability to test. I don't rely on it. I build with it. Every single thing that you're seeing now is being built with AI. As a software engineer, it's been over a year since I've actually written code for anything, but everything that even the augmented reality that we're working on right now, I'm launching an app to see all of our entire augmented reality ecosystem. I just built the technology for that while I'm here down here in Mexico. And all of that is thanks to AI. I don't have to prototype with teams anymore. I can now prototype and then go find the team that's going to help me do everything. So I can actually create teams quicker and know exactly what their roles are going to be. And I can do it anywhere around the world. I could do that before, but now it's like super fast. And it also, the biggest thing, because I know we're talking about education, the biggest thing is that before I could tailor education to each kid because that was just like my natural way of teaching or guiding rather. Now I can train a lot faster in doing that because the AI can be that conversational and that conversational companion if a kid likes rocks and sharks and we're talking about Earth's ecosystems as a course. Now the AI can pair that and storyfy it in a way that allows that kid to come alive. I think education is really beat the curiosity out of them to the point where it's like anything that you try or do, you have to know what you're going to do with it, or it has to be going somewhere. It can't just be this innate curiosity. And so for me, the way we've been building out KIO has been with AI on the education side has been to like for a kid to like literally not even realize they're being curious, think they're being funny, and type like, what will this be? And then they get something, you're like, it's kind of one of those. We're creating the wow moments that
Yes.
kids don't usually get from school with AI. That's what's happening.
I love how you put that, the wow moments. Like I can still remember as early as fourth grade. As fourth grade, I did a project on the circulatory system. And all it was a little report. And I got the help of my parents who were very artistically talented and I was not. So I needed lots of help in that aspect. But it was also a family moment too, where we were all kind of helping do a different part. I was providing the information. My dad was helping like all the models, and my mom was like, how did she adding pizzazz to
Moms are
it?
for
Kind of
pizzazz.
like
Yeah.
beautifying it. Yeah, exactly. And so she always had the eye for this should go here and that should go. And but it was like I
Hmm.
still remember those. And the big projects that I've done, they
Hmm.
stick out to you. So creating learning experiences like this absolutely are going to stick with people. And I think you're kind of hinting at something too. Using the AI in that way, even if the kids are trying to be goofy or funny or whatever, they stumble
Hmm.
in, they're learning. Like they
Yeah.
stumble into it and not realize they're doing it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the fun part for me is I see when I see the looks on people's faces. So now in my role, I don't get to see that on students' faces anymore, but I get to see it on teachers' faces. I just presented this idea a couple of weeks ago to a group that I was speaking to, and I said, if you have, let's say you have a student in your class who likes Minecraft, and you're teaching division of fractions, you could use any of these AI programs and tailor your instruction. You can put in your learning goal, your exact lesson, and say, but this kid likes Minecraft. So, how can I tailor this lesson to the kid who likes Minecraft? Now, all the problems have to do with Minecraft. There's a story around it. Guess what? That kid's not even going to recognize that, like, oh, I'm learning fractions because I'm reading a cool story or something about Minecraft. And that was like, an eye-opening experience. So I got to see that look on teachers' faces when they were like, "Oh, that does sound really cool. That is something that would be pretty interesting." So I love how, and to me, that idea right there, that builds that curiosity. And I really like how you put that to, and I want to put emphasis on that. You can't just sit with curiosity because it fizzle. It will just, and I do know just from gleaning, from reading across all the different spaces that I was trying to do my research here, you have that view of beating the curiosity out of kids. Okay. No, and but listen, it's something that I've said, another podcast that I do for my work, and it's more of a regional thing for our teachers in AI. But my co-hosts and I, we said almost that exact same phrase, is that the curiosity disappears, and correlation doesn't equal causation, but it seemingly disappears around third grade, which in Pennsylvania and most states is when kids start taking
Yeah.
tests. And so it's interesting how those, and again, correlation doesn't equal causation, but boy, that's a pretty strong correlation. So I wanted to ask this because I come from the generation I was taught in the rows, sitting in your desk. We're going to read from the book. You're going to answer a couple of questions, or I had to go to the board
Hmm.
and write on the board and get the problem wrong in front of
Yeah.
everybody and then feel like an idiot in front of everybody. But so the very traditional form of education, here's the knowledge. I'm going to give it to you. You got to practice it, and then I'm going to give you a test on it. Was that your experience? And is that kind of what led to you? I'm so curious to see if that was what led you to this, like, I want to do the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So,
So, yes, I did have that experience. I actually had a couple experiences. So, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, public school, rows of desks, had to write on the
yep,
board. Me
yep,
and my closest
yep,
friends till this day still have stories about things we've said to each other. We've healed from. Remember, you said that to me when I was at the board? I hurt my feelings, things like that. It's like, I was getting, I was trying so hard. You devastated me for the next 20 years of my life. But so, yeah,
yep.
I had that. And then what I believe was my origin story, but it's kind of sliced between my other education was because I was gifted and talented. And so when I finished
Okay.
elementary school 2 years early, and then I went to a high school, but I still had to be in like the seventh and eighth grade kind of program with kids my age. And someone came to my school and said, "Would you like $100,000 scholarship to boarding school?" And 12 at the time. And I didn't really know what boarding school was. And I just said, sure. And I went through the entire, yeah, that
Sure.
was, it really was like that. I was just like, I kind of came to high school 2 years early. What if this sounds like college? I've never heard of this, but you get to go away, you stay there. It sounds like what college is. So I don't mind
Yeah.
going to that early. And so I kind of just took myself on that path, did everything that I needed to do. Didn't really involve my mom until the very end when I knew that it was like serious. And so I'd take I'd gone
Love
and taken
that.
the state test like because I just walked everywhere and never yeah, my mom worked in New York and so she wasn't home much. So I just became very independent, super young. And so I walk into
Wow.
took the state test. And so I get back into this boardroom meeting with this boarding school board and they go, so, Amira, you've placed in the top 1% of kids nationally in math. And I said, sure. I didn't know what
Wow.
the test meant. No one helped me read it because my mom didn't even know I took the test. It was like, oh, you're in the 99th percentile. I was like, oh, okay,
Yep.
great. And then they go, but you get B's in math. And I'm like, yeah, for me, A's and B's meant honor roll. Like I didn't need to do super honor roll, but it's okay. And so they were like, so does that mean that you're lazy or that you don't try hard? Or and I was like, I just remember that. Like I remember that feeling. It was the first time I became
Y-
curious about who I was. It was the very first time. It was like,
yeah.
and then I said, no, actually, and this is where the trajectory came for education and how KIO. I said, no, actually, I see math and people don't really know what that means. So I get the answers right on my tests, but I can't show my work. And so I get B's because I get them marked off 2 points here, a point here. And I said, so that's really the reason I get B's. And from then on, I had to ask myself consistently, am I lazy? Am I this? Am I that? Math. And then that just led me to realize as I went to, so that fast forward a year and a half later, I go to boarding school and completely different experience than Newark public school, boarding school in the middle of
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Quaker boarding school. And I just realized I said, in public school, you pass. This might be controversial. This is how I put it in my 14-year-old and 15-year-old brain. In public in public school, I pass if I shut up. I noticed that we all pass if we kind of don't say much. No, it's just like a here, I have to talk. They want to know what's on my mind. And so it started making me think, what's on my mind? What do I actually want to say? I don't want to just participate for the sake of participating. I've never been that kind of person. And I realized I would always raise my hand, especially in math class, and go, okay, when are we going to see this in real life? Because that's how I learned math. I couldn't show my work because if I could, I was that kid that even before I was old enough to sit in the front seat, I would look at the speedometer and see an airplane because I love airplanes and race cars and would say 3.5 seconds. I would play a game like that. One, two, three, of when we're going to meet. Like, when is this point of the dashboard going to meet with this point? And that's just how my mind was. So the moment word problems and things like that would come about in school, I would be able to say, oh, if so and so is traveling this fast to do that, or if so and so had this, I would never needed to learn that again. I never needed to look at the book. I got it. And so give me that problem. So the more I went in school, and the more I had to hire a math in school and then to raise my hand, I found myself asking the same question. When are we going to use this in real life? Just tell me it's going to be on a roller coaster so that every time I get a problem like this, I can just visualize that and then I can give you the answer. And it just piqued the curiosity out of me. It kind of made it so
Yeah.
that I didn't even take math in college. I just went to, if someone had just
Wow.
told me, and I look back on my life and I always say, if someone had just told me when I was 12, 13 years old that you're really great at math, you could engineer roller coasters. You could be an engineer. I didn't know what an engineer was. Even through graduating through
Neither did
college,
I.
I didn't even know what
Yeah.
computer science was, even going through college.
Yep.
I never went there. And it wasn't until I was trying to build my first app and someone said, "Oh, HTML looks like Chinese to me." I said, "Give it to me," because I love learning languages. And so I went and read the back of HTML, read through HTML and was able to decode it. And I just said, to me, this is all education. This is all going to get me where I want to go. None of this needs to be gate kept. And I don't, and then I would look around at my teachers and I would say, this again, all of my thoughts about education are probably going to be controversial, but they were just how I related to the world. I would sit in classrooms and say, this classroom I'm here because I'm learning about life, or this is supposed to make my life better. But I don't want the life of any of the people that are teaching. So how can I learn what I want to learn? I just need to know the concept of what I got to learn so that I can go out and I will teach myself. And this was before AI, this was before Google. This was before any of that. I would have gone to the library and immersed myself in every single math course. I would have gone past.
Yeah.
I would have gone and immersed myself in every language that I could learn, anything I would have done it myself. And so for me, Kia is really about how to make self-driven kids, not motivated kids like you're gonna give me something, here's a coin, I'm gonna be motivated. How can you be
Yeah.
so self-driven that no one can stop you? The only way you're gonna need a teacher is because they're gonna be people, you're gonna have to find your teachers, as opposed to
Mhm.
teachers saying, this is my expertise and I'm gonna pass it down to you. Now I'll never know more than you do.
I'll tell you what, that, you know what, it might be controversial, but that is, I think that you've hit on a lot of things there, especially in the American education system. And w- what you brought up, essentially your experience that you talked about at boarding school was like what in the teaching realm, that's, we would call that student-centered learning. And when it's really hard for a teacher who's gone through, their training, their school, which doesn't really prepare you to be a teacher. What school really does prepare you for your job? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I feel like every profession, my wife has said this many times. My wife is a lawyer. And how you are, this is funny. So how you are with math, she is with reading and literature.
Okay.
I always say she has a superpower when it comes to reading. I don't know how she does it. I struggle with reading so much. But the world is different to her than to me. And so when you were explaining that with the math and how you visualize things differently, I'm like, oh, I definitely know what that's like, having someone who views the world completely different than me,
Hmm.
who I see and get to talk to every day. But that idea of student-centered learning is scary to people because I don't think, and I don't know if we've ever given students enough credit for what they know. And so I always tried. I tried really. Now, I will say, I didn't have many students like you. I may have had one or two
Mhm.
in my entire teaching career, but I would always ask them questions. I would always just try to get them curious. And I would say, I know that what I'm teaching right now, you could, like, you're probably already done. You've got this, it's already done. And so I would say, what do you want to learn? Like, what do you want to learn? Because this is what I have to teach, but I can teach you whatever you want to learn. So,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
tell, or I could work. I shouldn't even say that. I probably said that at the time, but looking back, I probably should have said, I can help you get there.
Yeah.
I can point you in a direction. And again, before AI. And I can't help but do this. This is my brain works like this. I connect situations to movies or songs or
I love.
quotes.
Oh yeah.
Your whole story that you were saying, I'm envisioning Matilda. I'm envisioning Matilda the entire
Nice.
time. You walk into the library by yourself, teaching yourself. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's Matilda with math. You know what I mean? And I'm
I
just
didn't do it because
that
no
is,
one told me I could be an engineer, so it's like in my head.
yeah. And again, that talk about another point of connection. I got to college my freshman year and I lived on a floor with all engineers. And I'm like, what is an engineer? What
Hmm.
is that? What do you guys do? And they're like, oh, it's math and science. And I was like, I was really good at math and science, and no one ever told me about being an engineer. I was like angry. I was like, what the heck, high school? Why did no one tell me that engineering was a thing? You know what I mean? And so now, oh my gosh, now engineering is everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. But again, you had this huge disconnect. And so you found your story, and I love that going to the boarding school, mini college. You could say mini college, but getting that experience. And I think that you opened up the door there for a model. And to be quite honest, in the age of AI, what I'm seeing from a lot of the discussions that I see on LinkedIn are a shift to that model, to student centered learning, to project based learning, to having more, not necessarily me teaching you, delivering you content, but guiding you through where you want to go.
Mhm.
And essentially just making sure you hit targets along the way.
Yeah.
I'll let you go on the path you want, but I have to hit these targets.
Yeah.
I think that would be a pretty good compromise.
Yeah.
So we keep the targets, we keep the standards or whatever, we keep those targets, but like how you get there is your choice. What do you think about that?
I'm totally with you in the sense, pretty much everything except we keep the targets. And the
Okay.
reason why I say that is,
Please.
so you said something going back to the Minecraft and AI, and that's like the teacher's wow moment. I can do that. I think that's still, and this is where, for me, it's like mission-based learning. And the reason why is because
Okay.
now you kind of handicap, you can almost handicap. Yes, you're opening this learning out to this kid, but hey, kid, there's so much more to the world than Minecraft. That's just the most interesting thing to you right now because learning is just not something you're interested in this traditional way. And so your mind says Minecraft is fun, learning is not. If you put Minecraft, then now it's fun. But now you're handicapping yourself where you can't see the world unless it's through Minecraft. You can't learn unless it's
Ah,
through
I see.
Minecraft. And so
Okay.
for me, the drawing out of the targets, because the targets of school right now, and I don't fault teachers when I say beating yeah, the curiosity out, because to me, I don't fault teachers, I don't fault principals, superintendents. I don't even fault the system. The system did what it was designed for. It was designed to make sure that we could assembly our way into an industrial society. It was made sure that we could get to productivity. And the system, the way it was designed, pretty much can say brought us AI. All of
Yeah.
those that it brought us to where we are. It's just that it's outdated. It's old. We have to do something new. And so for
Yeah.
me, the targets are no longer, I think curiosity is the number one skill. If you are not curious, there's a, so I think, and you also talk bringing in, we're kind of the same, where you said we underestimate what kids know. I think that's also an old paradigm as well, because before information was the commodity because it was so scarce. When that's why Google is who they are. They brought us information. It was like the biggest thing since sliced bread. Now information is, there's nothing that we can't know, and you can know it for free. You just get on and you free-ish if you have internet. And so information is no longer the commodity, it's now transformation. It's who do I want to become? I think we all, before we sit down and prompt anything, you and I could have the same idea. How we think is going to prompt differently is going to give us two different products, and one of us is going to make a different amount of money, and one of us is going to make something else. It's not, it doesn't level the playing field. What creates value is who is the agent, not the agent that we're building. Who's the agent? And not what do you know, but what are the questions you're willing to ask because the information is there in front of you. And so to me, the metrics, the reason why I think education the way it is, again, another controversial potentially, I think it's 100% dead. I don't think it's 99% dead, 99.999. I think it's 100%. So anyone operating within that paradigm is operating in the old. And that's why it doesn't really fit. That's why there's so much friction. When something fits, it fits and it becomes great. When you're trying to put a new thing into an old thing, it just doesn't work. So we have to really rework our mind. And I think mission based work, so the reason why we go on Kio, not missions, is because take that Minecraft and take the story of like what it means to become a this, just becoming. If a kid says, I like Minecraft, why do you like Minecraft? I like to build things. Okay, great. And so a kid starts to ponder, I'm curious why my fingers like this because that just feels like freedom to me. I like that. I like building things. I like the feeling of seeing something jump up and down. Like that screen really makes me happy. When I go outside, I see things and I see them through Minecraft. Now you've given that kid an entire world of what do they want to create. Now, Minecraft was just the catalyst to help them understand who they are. And you no longer have to give that kid the pill and the applesauce. Now the pill is the applesauce.
Yeah.
They want the
Yeah.
medicine. They want it. They're like, go and build a video game like Minecraft. Maybe I want to be a video.
Yeah.
Maybe I just like playing the. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I'm not technical, but I like the colors. Go and craft that, and now AI can just become something that helps you start that, and you can just become so many things. So to me, it's less about trying to give kids old paradigm in new ways, but now no more metrics of one last example. And I said this
Oh yeah.
to that I was working with, a teacher in the school that I was working with recently for Kionauts. I said, I know literacy is the big thing right now. Everyone, literacy, there's so much money going in literacy. And I'm like, our literacy rates have sucked for decades. It's not new.
Long time. Long time.
Yeah, for a long time. You look back in some districts and it's 30 years where to the point where the language is changing, where it's have reached. But no, that means 66% have not reached. And so we're changing the
Right.
language. And think from the human perspective, you have this many kids that can't read. But now with AI, it's like there's a new life because give me a kid who is like number one in the National Spelling Bee, has read every Harry Potter book, has read the entire library. Give me that kid they've done well in school. Give me that kid. And then give me the kid who probably can't, they're still figuring out that B is for ball. They're figuring that out. But what they've had to do is they've had to read people. They've had to live their life doing whatever they had to do because they couldn't read. I'll sit them down in front of technology and I can't guarantee because I haven't done it and we haven't it's not tested. It's not the Kionauts way to just
Yeah.
guarantee something and say it. But
Yeah.
my excitement, my enthusiasm for the kid over here and what they create, I would say that that this kid would get on there and have to figure it out, and they would figure it out from a mindset of what works in the world. This kid would prompt for instructions, how to do this. And that kid would get this, and they get that long stream of something. This kid wouldn't even know how to read it. They'd go and create. I need to create the thing and get the thing rather than get the instructions for the thing and then go figure it out and then go ask someone to check it it's a completely different. So for me, the new literacy is being able to read yourself and read other humans. And once you can do that, you don't even need to type anymore. You can literally press a button and tell AI what you want it to tell and tell it to build an entire empire for you. Whether I could have a Vietnamese keyboard on my computer right now and still build an empire Can't read the keyboard. So
That's
yeah,
it.
so that's just where I am as far as like the metrics. I think the metrics are dead along with the system that we built for the Industrial Revolution. We're in a completely different era of humanity. And
Wow.
yeah.
That is That's bold. I love it. Boldly going where actually I can't say where no people have gone because there's a lot of people are in your boat. A lot of people, I'm sorry, not your boat. A lot of people are on your spaceship with you.
Nice.
Okay.
I like
There's a
boats
lot,
too, but
there's
yeah.
there, there's a lot of people on the ship with you. Okay. So oh, we could just use ship. It could be a
Yeah,
boat
yeah,
or a
yeah. I
spaceship.
love it.
Who knows? But so I, oh man, I could have an entire podcast just about that. But I'm gonna swing back around
Okay.
here because this is what I do. Because AI is always my big thing.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna swing back around here. I got your view on the education system as a whole, and I've gleaned actually a lot from what you said there about AI and your views on AI. So with all that being said, what are your personal views on AI? How does it fit in education? And I know you've alluded to a lot of this, but how does AI fit in and how do we get from where we are to where you think we should be?
Yeah, I think AI unlimits us. That's what I really, I know we've all talked about limited possibilities for so long, and I think it unlimits us. Even and I think if we learn the only way to truly be able to take advantage of I think we have to do two things. The first is to reevaluate our relationship with ourselves and with fear so that we can take those guardrails off and not necessarily let it go and go rogue and do whatever. But I think that fear is going to create it. It's almost like the Tomorrowland effect. You constantly see
Okay.
things, and so you're creating, you're looking for them. Humanity has a chance to almost start over or go towards extinction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so for me, the story is for us to look at who do we want to become? We get to become, before we were evolving, it was like mistakes, right? Not mistakes, but things that were happening over and over. Ah, we're upright. It depends on
Yeah.
what side of anything you're on. Like I'm in a sphere,
Yeah.
right? Like just put me in a
Yep.
sphere, I'm all
I
for it.
hear you.
So
I
it's
hear
like,
you.
all right, we've got this. Okay, now we're eating cooked food. We got fire. We have houses. Now we don't have this. Wherever you think how, no matter what, you can't say that we didn't evolve, even if we came straight from one civilization to another. Those were more, not mistakes, but they were happenstance. They were, we had to do them in order for to survive. And we still have to do that now, but this is the first time that the thing that we might not survive from that we're talking about now, which is AI, because there's all the other catastrophic things,
Yeah.
is the thing that we created. And so this is time where we have choice. It's full on choice, and we get to choose who we want to become. We don't have to bring evil into the new world. We don't have to bring these things. A lot of them are balanced and inevitable, but we get to truly choose who we become, and AI can then build with us, for us, all of those things. So the first I think is we have to figure out who we decide, not figure out, decide who we want to be. And then the second is our relationship to information. Knowing is certainty. We built everything that we are on certainty. Ask most adults, and this is even when they're showing their kids off. Look what my kid knows. Look what my kid knows. We have to get to a place where I don't know is the best answer you can get. I don't know yet. I don't know
I
yet.
like
I
that.
don't know yet because that's where the new teachers are going to come from. Why? I think the teacher, and I'm not sure you and I've seen, I think we're the same generation. I'm a millennial, right? I've been saying
Yep.
for 15 years now, I was like, I think we are one of the most important generations in human history since we went from Homo sapien to Homo, whatever that
Wow.
generation.
Yeah.
Why? Because we are the last, we're the most unique generation. We're the only generation that was here completely before all the digital. We had flip phones. We were here when the big phones were here. We dialed up to the
Yep.
internet. We were
Yep.
here for that. And then we weren't digital natives, but then we became digitally savvy. We built the beginning of that. And so we're the
Yeah.
last like human generation that sits on the cusp of like where we're going. Digital natives, they're native. They're a completely
Yeah.
new
You
native. And so up to us to truly create what we are the true teachers for where we're going because humanity is the thing that we have to know the most. We need to know humanity. We have to, the reason I'm so focused on languages, and this is before, we had all these translators. It's like language is human history. The only reason why we have a word for something is because there was an experience for it that happened over and over again where people needed a word for it and it had to be put into context. And so just saying English is the world language, like that's one we have to look and see what language we use. We have to have a better relationship with that language. And the biggest thing we can say is no sé, wakarimasen. I don't know. Learn that in
yeah.
every language. More than hola, more than hello.
Yeah.
Learn I don't know
Yes.
and become comfortable with that because there's the things that we know, AI knows. Don't be impressed by what you know anymore. Be impressed by what you
Yeah.
can create and who for the sake of making humanity based on the story that you give yourself of where humanity needs to go. I believe we're in not even interplanetary. I think the solar system is the mindset of that is too small. There's 6,300 planets we've identified, and I'm sure that's just because that's what we know, right?
Yep.
And yeah,
Exactly.
it's more of the consistent state of discovery and exploration and being excited about that. And so for me, I think teaching right now is there is nothing, I think we're our own teachers, but what we need from other humans is to guide us more to become better humans and for us to collectively, I don't think the age of the teacher is going to be the same. I think it's going to be an 8 billion teacher market. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I don't
Wow.
know if that answered the question fully, but
Yeah. No, and it did. That's, I think that man, you bring up so many good points. I have all these things I wanted to talk. Forget that. We're off
oh,
script now
bring
because
it
this
back.
is wonderful. No, this is no, because this again, this is part of the wonder of doing a podcast is I have an idea of where the conversation is going to go or where I would like it to go, and I get blown away immediately as soon as I get here, and I'm like, forget that. This
No,
is way cooler.
nice.
Let's go there. No, but like we're our own teacher. That's a good way to look at it. I think that's a good way to look at it. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I have a 4-year-old, and something I constantly think to myself is, what how do I build? And something I've been pondering for a while, just with my own teaching practice and just throwing it out there in the world. So here I am throwing it out there again. How do I build? How do we build curiosity in people? Like, how does that? So I will say, my kid, his teachers at school, they say he is super curious. He asks questions all the time
Mhm.
about everything. And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no clue where he got that from. No clue. No clue why he's asking so many questions. But how do you develop that? Like, how would you, if you had a chance to tell like, how would you tell somebody to help develop curiosity?
I would ask them what's important to them. That the first thing is let's stop kids from th- let them be curious, but then start to steer them in a way and ask them more why questions and answer their why questions with why so that they know why they're asking. And then that'll then start to steer their mind into why am I asking that? Oh, because I'm curious about this. Most of the time they're just like, why? And just because it's just,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like
right.
if we all become curious, it starts to steer us in a direction. Why are you
Okay.
asking? Well, because, and now my thought process has somewhere to go, and I'm learning about myself, and that's what why does. Why teaches me more about myself. And so, someone who, let's say they have zero curiosity, it could be an adult, it could be a kid. The first thing, if they were sitting in front of me right now, I would say is, what's important to you? And if their answer is, I don't know, it's like, why? Not go figure it out,
Ooh.
because that's what we usually
Yeah.
would say. Go and ask
Yeah.
ChatGPT or go in the world and
Yeah.
a lot of us, especially our generation, a lot of us, we need a gap year to figure our lives out.
Yeah.
I'm so guilty of that. I'm still figuring, I don't know. because it's really just why. Like, why don't I
Yeah.
know what's important to me? Because no one paid attention. Like, it's just, or I went to school and they never asked that. Okay, so what do you want to do with that? I don't want to do anything. I don't think, why don't you want to do anything? Because I don't really think that life is going to do anything for me. Like, I'm here in this little town of Pennsylvania, or I'm here in this place that has no internet, right? I've never seen most of these things, and I'm in a place that they call the slums or whatever the world has deemed me to be, and there's no opportunity for me. Oh, so what you're curious about, or you can even go deeper to that person's like really gets there and is like, wow, so what you're really feeling is like, or not what you're feeling, because then that's us trying to be in the place of no, of like, why? Because I'm just defeated and I don't want to do anything because I don't think it's going to amount to anything. What if I told you it could? I can't tell you what it is, but it could. Because now I'm saying AI, like before it would have been something else, but it's like now with AI, just ask yourself a question and just put it in there. And then that's where AI, that's what I mean by it unlimits us. Because even asking it a question, I think I asked Gemini the other day because I'm trying to figure out what's the different models. And I was like, I don't use Gemini that
Yeah.
much. I said, I was just sitting there and I was just like, oh, I was just really exhausted. And I just said, I think I said surrender or fight. And it doesn't know anything about
Oh,
me. And it said,
yeah. I love that.
when you're in a place, like it like really, it went so broad, but it understood what I was, and it's just emotionally, you can be like this. And it's just like, wow, a person,
Interesting.
a person just getting to a place after asking themselves what's important to me and realizing that they probably don't know, or maybe they do know and then they can go with that. But if they're like so defeated that literally you think you could get nothing out of them and you just continuously asking them, just say, keep asking yourself why. You can literally just, if you don't, you're not teaching them. I'm not curious. What's important to you? I don't know. Just keep asking yourself why. And then you leave the room. You were the teacher, you were the guide because, and then you
Yeah.
gave them the tool. Go on
Yep.
ChatGPT or whatever it is. What's important to you? I don't know. Keep asking yourself why. And then when you have a question, put it into this tool. And that's it. That could open people up. And now they go down rabbit holes and they don't even have to know how to read or write.
Yeah. That's what a world. And like that's the crazy part and is trying to translate that into the system we're in right now is where my job sits.
Hmm.
So my job sits in that kind of just like a millennial, in between everything,
Hmm.
because the in between generation of everything. But trying to not freak people out, but also make them aware that any student at any time in any class that we teach could get whatever knowledge we have to impart on them, they could get it on their own anytime they wanted to. And just leading with that, like just
Hmm.
just leading with that that scares a lot of teachers. But I try to tell them the important part is, but like the important part to me is that they can find all the information. They can learn anything they want to learn, but they still need, and I think all people at different stages of their lives, you need guides.
Hmm.
Because if you learn all this stuff and you just sit there and just keep learning, you're just the AI, just the AI yourself. You're just sitting there and just continually learning the things. I constantly use, again, movie quotes. This is like my thing that I do, but I constantly use the analogy of Matt Damon's character in Good Will Hunting.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay, it's such a good analogy for AI because he has a photographic memory. He can remember everything. He knows so much information. He knows so much stuff, but he doesn't have experiences. And the scene on the bench when Robin Williams is, if I asked you about love, you'd quote me a sonnet from Shakespeare, but you don't know what it's like to be in love because you haven't been in love.
Hmm.
And I forget the next part. If what did he say? If I ask you about the Sistine Chapel, you'd give me some history lesson about it, but you don't know what it smells like
Hmm.
in there, and you don't know what it feels like to be in that environment. You don't have that experience. So and I think that is actually along the same lines of the message that you can be anything you want to be, especially in this world where everyone could be, Will Hunting,
Mm-hmm.
if they wanted to. They could learn whatever they wanted to learn. And even if you don't have the photographic memory, you have the infinite information. I love how you keep saying that it unlimits you, and it's like unlimited possibilities. And so I really like how you put that. So,
No, no,
yeah, please.
I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
No,
But
it's okay. It happens
no,
all the
you,
time.
you
Don't worry about
just
it.
before you even brought in Goodwill Hunting, I had a thought, and then you nailed it with the Goodwill Hunting. Going back to just teachers, AI, curiosity, and really kids can learn anything they want, and that being like intimidating for teachers. And then going back to the what would you say to someone who's not curious? I always say you can't give what you don't have. So when someone's like, I really wish this person loved me more, or just all the things people want from other people, it's like we cannot give what we don't have. And so in thinking
Mm.
about your work with teachers, in my mind, I'm like, because I don't want to count teachers out. I know someone must be saying, oh, it's going to
No.
be 8 billion teachers. So now that no one's, it's like everyone's special. No one's special. It's like everyone's a teacher. No
Yeah.
one's a
Yeah.
teacher. But right
Yeah.
now, because of where we are, we have teachers. And a lot of them are passionate. A lot of them are there because they want to teach. And this
Yeah.
is such a confusing time right now.
Yes.
Doing that exercise with a teacher, in my mind, again, this is all me thinking in this moment, why? What's important to you? Why? Why? Go in those whys and really, and then I think their prompts would be different of so how could I bring this to my seventh grade math room classroom? Really be like, because
Yeah.
you still have
Yeah.
to do your job. You can't just come in and be like, all of a sudden you're teaching math is what's important to you? Flowers. Okay, everything's flowers. Like you still have to meet those
Yeah.
metrics, but it's reinvigorating their why to their curiosity and then allowing AI to unlimit their curiosity. So it doesn't even have to be now AI's in the classroom and we have to audit and make sure it's telling us real things. It's no, AI has now unlimited that classroom because it's unlimited the teacher. Now that teacher's curiosity can it it understands why you're asking. I think the way because we're so uncurious or incurious, don't know which one that is or if it's either one of those, the way we prompt might be, how do I teach seventh grade math better? Or how can I make this fun? You're
Yeah.
starting there instead of realizing you have to start with who you are because you walk into that classroom differently every single day because now you're
Yep.
being self-driven. You're walking into that classroom, AI tells you like, oh, you have little Henry and he likes this. Tell him that he can do it like it. Now you're bringing the unlimitedness or unlimited whatever to the
We're
classroom.
making up words. It
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter.
You're
Yeah. No,
bringing
these are
that
great.
to the classroom because you've reinvigorated your own curiosity. You've reevaluated your sense of self in the classroom, and you're no longer just trying to teach to metrics. And within metrics. Now those metrics don't have to confine you because you can get to where you need to get to, being the person that you've always wanted to be while expanding yourself and giving each kid their own individual lesson. Like you can say, this is the lesson, here are my 12 kids. These are their personalities. This is what they like. You can go into the classroom and ask the kid, hey, I'm going to teach you guys fractions today. How do you want to learn fractions? I want to learn how to divide pizza. I want to learn ice cream. I want dinosaurs.
Yep.
And they could just be, and they could, again, it could be that wow moment where a kid thinks that they're being facetious. They think they're being like, I want to learn about poop. And you just go give it to them. And now they're wowed by like how to
Yep.
divide poop, right? You know what I mean? And you get to
I
be that
love it.
teacher where it's like, you literally, before I thought I was going to get in trouble for it, or I'm just doing this because school's so boring that I just have to make jokes all the time. But it's now you brought this joke to me. And this AI was able to give each one of us the exact same lesson in this way. And now there's my curriculum. And you print it out in the printer room, wherever they print things in schools, and there you go. You have
Yep.
like your own based on you as a teacher,
Yeah.
and that AI is going to remember that. And so to me, that's just, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, unlimit the teacher,
Well,
and then you don't have to think
y-
about AI in the classroom.
yeah. And it ties into what I have said. You can see my
Yes.
slight obsession with superheroes, especially this particular superhero, Superman. But the idea of, to me, And again, this is probably because I'm a millennial and we've been through every technological advancement,
Hmm.
major technological advancement of the last 40 years. We've been in the middle of it and happening at pretty prominent times in our lives. And I said, to me, AI has always been about, I viewed it as a superpower because I constantly was someone who, and as a teacher, I was, I threw kids off all the time. Because a lot of kids had never seen a teacher like me because I would say, I don't know all the time. Oh my gosh. I would say, I don't, and this was always a funny one. I started the year when I was a reading teacher, a reading and ELA teacher. I would say, I'm going to start by telling you something that's going to confuse you. And they're all, so now they're curious, like, oh gosh, what's he going to say? I don't like reading. I don't like reading at all. And everyone has these quizzical looks on their face. And they're like, what, how do you teach reading? And I said, I'm really glad you asked that question. I teach reading because I am good enough at reading to be good at it, but I don't like to do it. And so again, I got to, and I told them this, I didn't like reading. I learned later that's probably because of adult ADHD and all that entails. So it's probably why I don't like reading. But I said, I couldn't sit there. I would, anytime I'd read a book, I'd fall asleep. Still happens as an adult. I'm getting better, but it's just, I would say these things out loud and the kids are just like, oh, and this was always my favorite because I'd always have a kid who go, hey, I have ADHD too. I know what that's like. And I'm like, cool. I know what your life's like. You know what I mean? We know what each other's lives are like. Okay. But I told them, I said, my goal is not to make you a perfect reader. You don't have to be you just have to be, you have to be able to read enough to just, can you read basic things? Can you understand? And to your point, which is a hard one, again, the teacher is hardwired in me, but it's a hard one for me to grasp. But I do come to terms with this quite a bit, is this idea of, even if the text is there, all of the technology we have can just turn the text into words. It can just turn it into speech. And so, and speech in
And reading's
any
still important.
language.
I'm not against literacy.
Yeah. No, I understand. No, absolutely. But that is part of the struggle for me. Again, being someone who doesn't like reading, I was always good enough at reading. And I think I got lucky because on the tests that you had to take, you didn't have to read whole books. You just had to read little passages. I got lucky that I didn't have to read a lot. That was always something I started with. And I think that kind of ties in here, is because it's like, you don't have to be like perfect at the thing, at whatever it is, but building enough of the skill. And I think right now, to your point as well, AI can help you build enough of the skill to get to where you want to go. And I'm going to keep coming back to this. I think I'm going to quote this somewhere, but I'm going to quote you on this. The unlimited, I have to go back and remember exactly what you said, but unlimiting this, it opens up so many possibilities for students. And I think if I can get teachers to shift their mindset, because that's one of the big duties that I have, is to shift their mindset away from this AI being this scary thing that's going to take away all the thinking and creativity of the kids. And those are all the fears, right? AI is going to do all their work for them. My response has always been, what are you changing about your work? The thing in my head is, what are you changing about the work? So if you're worried about AI doing the work, what are you changing about it? And most of the time the answer is, they should be able to do this work. I'm of the mindset, I think we just need to start doing things differently. And I love that you are like, you've gone way past the we should start doing things differently to just be like, let's rebuild the whole thing.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And I love that. And I really sincerely hope that more people hear this and say, huh, maybe we can get there. It is within reach. Yeah. And especially, and so, yeah, so I'll wrap this up. I can tell you already, I'm going to need to talk to you again in the future. We're going to need to talk again to see how far we've come.
I'm all for it.
Far we've come from this moment. But I always end our podcast here with the whole thing's curiosity. So we've talked a lot about curiosity, how to bring it out of people. I've given you a lot of my curiosity. So I end with asking my guests, what are you the most curious about going forward related to AI, education, all of the above? What are you most curious about going forward?
I'm really curious about who we're going to become. I think, and when I say who we, I'm curious. I keep saying I want to see what 2042 looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
2042, that's to me an entire generation out from the kids that are being born today. And right now, we're in a place of so much fear. We're in a place of so much change, and we're going to continue to be there because we're just advancing. Every day there's a new something. The Where we get to is going to be where we choose. And I think we're not going to be able to choose until we can release our fear, because you can't choose from a place of fear. You're not actually choosing, you're just reacting and surviving. And so I think older people, because whenever something is new, is shifting, we want to hold on because we don't know. We've cultivated a society to hold on to the unknown is actually what we've said is not good. And so we're only in the unknown. So I'm really curious to see what kids who have no idea what any of that was create. And so I'm super curious about what does 2042 look like? And if I can get a knee injection, because I got without having to have knee surgery, just grow a new knee because my one knee's really bad. So I'm really curious about that too. But yeah, I'm curious to see what we choose. This is the first time we get to truly choose who we get to become.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
I'm curious to see what that looks like, because I don't think it's going to look like anything we can imagine today. Loved
This
it.
was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, your curiosities, and I can clearly, and I think everybody else is going to see the passion that you have for transforming education, like truly transforming it and building something completely new. And I'm all for it and I'm ready to see it. KIO is the name of the ecosystem. I got that right. The ecosystem. Okay. So we have the Kids in Orbit. That's the program. So you have tell me what's all in there. Or let's do a run. Like what
Yeah.
is all in the ecosystem here?
So KIO, Kids in Orbit, is you can say it's the holder of everything. And we want to encourage kids to become Kionauts, which are curious, compassionate explorers of Earth and the cosmos. So
I'm
there's
going to get ready to sign my kid up as soon as I get home.
yeah,
So you're
so
going to have
parts of
one more.
yeah, thank you. Parts of the ecosystem will be released, but yeah, mainly Kio. We're at kiolearning.com and kionaut.com. Those are the two main places where you can pretty much go anywhere from there. Anything that we build in the ecosystem will come from those two.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time and
you.
thank you so much for your story. And I look forward to see what else is coming down the pike from you. So thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much,
much.
Matt. This was fun. This is everything it needed to be. So thank you so much. And I look forward to coming on again and seeing what else your other interviews as well. So
Hopefully not. Hopefully it won't be like all the way until 2042. I got to get you before 2042. So, although,
we'll
but
get
that
in
would
there.
be, I'll tell you, that would be really cool to have an episode in 2042. I'm going to write that
Was
down.
I
So
was
we're
gonna
going to
say
keep that. So,
put it in your AI calendar and it'll tell you in
so it keep, yep,
2042 to remind you.
100%, 100%.
All right.
All right. Hey, thanks,
Thank
Amirah.